Hey guys, BigManTingz here with another YouTube video, my second YouTube video on this channel. If you haven't seen my previous video on mid lane mage builds, I recommend you go see that. I talked about a couple of new items and what the general build is looking like for mages in the current season. This is going to be a tier list video for mages only. You can see the gods in their specific rows right now. For all the mages that I think are pretty viable in the mid lane. Before we get into explaining some of the picks and why some obviously gods are in certain rows, I just want to point out I'm not a huge fan of tier lists. However, I do understand why people enjoy tier lists and people that do use them as a point of reference when picking a god or seeing what god is, quoted or seen as good. So I just wanted to put that out there before we get into it. We're probably just going to be talking about the A row, which is going to be our point of balance, where I think these gods are pretty balanced. They have their pros and their cons in the mid role, or just in general, really. I think Freya definitely could be shifted up, maybe. Some gods, these could be shifted up or down, depending on how you see it. This is my personal opinion from the play that I've seen, and we're only talking about mid mainly here. We're not talking about the ADC role, where obviously Freya could be higher, where Chung Hua could be technically higher. So yeah, just thought I'd let you know before we get into it. We're going to talk about the obviously the A row first. So let's talk about Anubis. Anubis is in a pretty good state right now. That's why he'll be in the A column. A lifesteal has definitely helped him up quite a lot. The what's it called? The Talon's Bankov's Talon and the Typhon's Fang. That combination is definitely allowing Anubis to excel in the current season 5 meta. So he should be getting picked a lot more and being seen as less as a troll pick. So that's good news for all the Anubis mains out there. Chung Hua is the next god that I placed in the A column. Now, Chung Hua, I think, is quite a good god. However, she does suffer from the early game problems that some other mages do, which we'll explain later. Chronos, I'm looking at you on the next one. But yeah, she does suffer from mana and early game. However, she's super potent once you get her into the mid game and late game. Having a healer right now in the current meta seems pretty good. There is sometimes a lot of anti-healing going around, but having a healer on Phoenix Sieges and generally just grouping up on this big map where it can be a bit harder to rotate from base, so you want to keep sustained up with like a Chung Hua and some meditations, she's doing quite well right now. So that's why I put her in the A position for a mid lane mage. Chronos is up next. Haven't played a whole lot of Chronos this season, but I do think he is in a pretty decent spot anyway. He is Chronos. Some of the items are definitely in his favour for sure. He's one of the mages that do benefit from Warlock's sash. You can build that on him, become extra tanky, so you can time your ult a bit better. You can bait out a lot more abilities before you have to ult, for example. But Chronos is definitely in a pretty good spot right now, and definitely could see him go probably up, maybe, if a lot of people start playing him and he does quite well. If you get him into the late game, he definitely can be pretty strong. Freya is the next god. She's mainly an ADC, but I decided to put her in the mid tier list here because she can be played at mid. Her clear early game isn't the best, but it's also not the worst, so you can get away with her. You get her to mid game though with 3 items, and yeah, she does what needs to be done. She will be killing people. Her ult's really safe. She's got her whoop for self-pill set up. Just a generally strong god, and certain players definitely can play her in the mid role if they want to. So we have next on Isis. Isis is a pretty good god right now. Very balanced god. Again, this row is the row of balance. Pretty balanced god. She's got the early game clear with her 1. She's got a stun, obviously the silence, the reducing prot to the 3, and then the AoE ult. Yeah, she's pretty good. I don't know what else to say about her, honestly. She's there. She can be played. There is other gods that I would say are better than her, and you can just kind of like pick them no matter what the enemy has got or what you have got. But I think Isis can be a little bit hard to pick sometimes into certain gods. She can get countered kind of easily. But yeah, she's usually a pretty good pick. Kukulkan. Kukulkan's in a really good state. I think it's one of the better states Kukulkan has been in for a while, where these items, which are the Warlock Staff, Book of the Dead, and Book of Thoth, all provide mana, which, if you don't know, Kukulkan's passive, the more mana you have, the more power you have. So, he's a god where he can build these items and just generate a lot of free power just because of his passive, which is pretty strong, honestly. Him just being in the mid game, he generates pretty much like a whole item. He gets to the mid late game, he gets like a free item worth of power over other gods, which is pretty insane. But yeah, Kukulkan's really strong. He's got early game clear. The only problem with Kukulkan is the inconsistency with the ult. Can be hard to hit, and also it's pretty easy to react to. You can age a set and you can see it coming. But other than that, Kukulkan is in a pretty good spot. We have Nuwa now, generally just a really balanced god. She's chilling, she can pill for herself for 2 and 3, she has decent clear early, she has her ult, nothing really to bring up about her. She's just Nuwa, hasn't really changed that much from Season 4. Sidon, again, one of them gods where you can just pick him into some comps where Cripple really does hurt them, or Gem of ISO really does hurt them. He does have some weak matchups, and obviously it's always the case with Poseidon where you go big or go home. You hit the Kraken, you're going to win. You miss the Kraken, you're definitely going to go home with an L. So he's always been like that. Pick him if you would like. He's a pretty balanced mage right now. Ra is in an interesting position where he's Ra. He's one of the gods that does require a lot of setup to kind of be reliable, I'd say. But he definitely can be picked. Healing right now seems to be pretty good. Even with some anti-heal being built, the healing does seem to be pretty good, and so when you stack it up with meds as well, the anti-heal doesn't really impact it that much. But yeah, Ra seems to be in a pretty decent spot. Jin. Now Jin, Season 4, he would be up here somewhere, you know, he'd be playing with the big boys. But Season 5, he definitely got hit hard with his 1 and 2. His early game is definitely a lot weaker than other mages, so I'll be putting him in the A row with these other gods, but the balance section basically. Vulcan, briefly go over him, not much has changed. He's Vulcan, he's chilling, just a generally balanced god. You can pick him, his early game's not that bad. His mid game is pretty good once you get some items online, and that's when he excels, once you get like 2 or 3 items online, so you can actually start dishing out some damage with the Vulcan. So let's talk about our lower tier gods right now, and then we'll talk about the above the balance gods. These are gods that could use some adjustments in the mid lane to become a bit more viable. Aphrodite is a weak early game god that can do pretty well in the probably, I'd say mid slash late game. Definitely can do a bit of work there. Certain comps you definitely can pick her. She obviously can struggle sometimes into Odin. A lot of anti-healing can cause some problems, and her ult's really good, but if you do mess up the ult, she's kind of useless in a sense. As a lot of, like, if you're going to play Aphro, you usually want to pair with a god that can utilize going in and taking a lot of hits, and Aphro be able to save her, or save that god with the ult. But yeah, Aphro's in a pretty decent spot. You can play her in mid and see some success with her. Hades right now, I decided to put on the tier list, however I do prefer him in solo. He's in an okay spot. He's just an awkward god to clear in mid. He's one of the few mages where you literally have to be in the wave to clear, or dash into the wave to clear, so it's a bit awkward. At a high level you can easily get punished, so probably won't be seeing that much Hades at a high level. Hell, I'd much prefer in the support solo position right now. Again, she can get punished pretty hard in mid. Mana problems as well can cause a lot of problems for her in the early game. Nox, much prefer her in support, but she can be played in mid. I was going to have Nox in A, but realistically I think Nox is a lot weaker than some of these other gods in the mid lane, so I decided to put Nox in the B+ row. Scylla. Now, I love Scylla personally. I think Scylla's an awesome god, but picking her over, the gods above her in this list, it can be hard, because she does do a lot of damage. She does have her dash, but at the end of the day, other gods can pretty much do similar damage in a much easier fashion, making her not as useful as Scylla players want her to be. So that's why she'll be in the B+. Zeus, I decided to put in the B+ role. He's a similar playstyle to Anubis, where you just want to go all in, do as much damage as you can, and pretty much end up dying. But the items are favouring Anubis right now, so if you're going to play that kind of playstyle where you're going all in to try and go, kill somebody, and then do as much damage as you can, I think Anubis is doing that a lot better than Zeus right now. So that's why Zeus will be in the B+. And Alposh is technically not in the game right now. Not too sure why he's in B. He probably should be in D. He's just struggling. I just don't find his kit to be the best. He kind of has to fully commit 3 abilities to technically do a lot of damage to someone. And then if that misses, he literally has no abilities up. And his ult is also not that good. So Alposh, not in the best of positions. Now we get on to the fun gods, the top dogs, real quick. So we have Agni, who I think is in a really strong position right now. He hasn't been nerfed for a while, where many other gods around him have been nerfed. So he's just chilling. He has pretty good damage. The items are also kind of in his favour. Pendant's quite good right now, so he can get a lot more Agni bombs off. He also is one of the mages with a dash, so he's pretty safe in that regard. I think Agni is going to have a pretty good season if he stays in this state. Hebo as well. He can build pretty tanky right now with a lot of power. He's doing a lot of damage. He has the 2 with mobility around the map. He's just causing a lot of problems in general. He can be played in jungle, solo, and mid. Although in mid, it can be sometimes a bit rough if you're playing against a very aggressive CC heavy comp where he has to go up really far to clear the mid wave, so he may have to just let the other mid laner clear and then he just clears, so he can get irritated sometimes, but generally he's in a pretty good spot. Yanis, you definitely could argue to put him in S. He's very strong right now. The mobility is his key component on the huge Season 5 map compared to the Season 4. The mobility, the walls, obviously the portals, the ult, all of it stacks up in his favour. I definitely could put him in S, but for this tier, and my personal video, I did put him in A+. Soul is the next god on the A+. I think Soul's in a pretty good spot. The items, the lifesteal items, have come out to be pretty good, and Soul is one of them gods where she does have them autos with her passive where she can utilize some lifesteal. She's also generally just a very safe mage where no matter kind of what comp you have, she can just be played. She just does soul stuff. She ults, she 3, she 1s, she's doing a lot of damage, she's staying safe, she's healing. So Soul is just generally quite good right now. Now, some of you may be laughing right now, like, why Zhonghui in A+? Why Zhonghui? I saw this other tier list. Zhonghui was in C. Why is Zhonghui here? Zhonghui, I think right now, is better than these current mages. This is my personal opinion. I think Zhonghui's in a very good state right now. He just does a ton of damage, and he is also a frontliner. He's one of the few mages that can technically frontline and be very annoying. Gem of ISO also works really well on him. Warlock Staff, he's a very tanky mage in general, where the items that you build right now to get power also allow you to be tanky. So technically he's just a giant, tank running at you, dishing out damage similar to, the opposing mage who isn't technically a tank. So obviously there is some matchups where it can be a bit rougher for him. Yanis is one of them where he can just portal away, making Zhong ult void. Yanis ult your whole team away, making Zhong ult void. But overall, I think he'll be an A+ right now. Some other tier lists you might see him lower, for example, but I think Chung Hua's in a pretty good state. Next god on the list would be the Scordia. The Scordia is one of my top 3 mages right now for the mid lane. These 3 are probably your top 3, your go-tos. She's just generally really safe. Her kit does it all. She has CC, range damage, immunity. She can juke you in her stealth with her 3. She has CC immunity on the ult, AoE damage with the ults. She's just causing a lot of problems. She has decent matchups as well into a couple of other mages. I think she's got a pretty good matchup into Yanis, personally, because Yanis has to go up to the wave to clear. The Scordia can 2-1 the Yanis, poke him out constantly, cause a lot of problems. So yeah, the Scordia is in a pretty good state right now. The Morrigan. Morrigan is still the Morrigan. She has not changed. She still transforms and can select any god of her choosing. She's pretty good. She's pretty good. Come late game, she's still gonna one-shot you. Maybe not mages so much anymore because of Book of the Dead, but your assassins that don't build a bit of health or a bit of prots, they're gonna die still. Your ADC most likely will die still. However, there's a bit of comeback potential with Devos and crit now. If you can Aegis some of the damage, you can maybe turn. But Morrigan is still causing a lot of problems, and she's still an extremely potent mid lane mage. Now, my top pick right now for Season 5, from what I've seen at the very least, is the Ibis, the Book of the Thoth user himself, the Thoof, the chicken. I think the chicken's probably the best right now as a mage. He has a lot of range damage. He's just super safe, dishing out tons of damage. Obviously the ult as well, you know, super long range, can hit literally everyone in a corridor. And I think you got to take in consideration, not just for Thoth, but every god right now. When you pick that, the corridors can be really tight right now in the Season 5 map. Gods like Kukulkan also, with plop that 3 down, you cover the whole corridor, you zone off the whole jungle path with that one ability. And Thoth's just generally really strong on Phoenixes right now. He can defend Phoenixes, he can push Phoenixes really well, having that extra range that other mages don't have, you know. What's the difference between Scordia and Morrigan compared to Thoth in these 2 rows? Not that much. I think Thoth's just a tiny bit better at being an effective mage where you can just literally throw him into any comp and he'll be Thoth compared to these 2. But yeah, I do think Thoth is probably the best mage right now. And I think that'll be it, guys. Sorry for I actually went on longer than I thought. There was actually a lot of gods, and I talked about a couple a bit more in depth than others. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed or took away something from this video. I'm sorry, my voice is. I'm still recovering from the flu, so my voice is still not the best. But I do hope you learned something. Let me know any feedback in the comments below, or what do you think about my tier list, whether you think some gods should be moved elsewhere or such. So just let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching, and I hope you subscribe and like the video and such, all the other fun stuff that YouTubers ask for. But yeah, peace.